SnowTrax is sponsored by Ski-Doo Snowmobiles, Yamaha, Conquers Snow, and by FXR Racing, Full Throttle Addiction.
In the past few seasons here on SnowTrax, I've been to Quebec almost more times than I can count. The reason I really like going back every time is because each trip exceeds my expectations. I always like to take somebody different and experience whatever I'm doing with a new person. And this time I chose our good friend, John Arkwright. John is always a good time. He's entertaining, he's fun to travel with, and he knows more about Quebec than I think most people who live in Quebec. So he was the perfect guy to go along on this trip.
You know, traveling with Luke, and I haven't done a lot of it in the last few years, is it's highly entertaining. Whenever we're on the road, we have a great time. We talk about a million different things, and you know what, a lot of fun.
We're headed to the Charlevoix region. It's about a 12-hour drive for us from where we live. It's really not that difficult. The highways are good, and it gives you a good opportunity to experience sort of Quebec scenery before you even get on the trail. We arrived at the Manoir Richelieu in the evening, and I have to say, I pulled up and was blown away by the class of this place. I mean, this place is top-notch, 5-star. And I was a little concerned at first that, you know, snowmobilers staying at these high-end 5-star resort type places, they sometimes aren't very well accepted. This place was a whole different story. The Manoir Richelieu is just so opposite to anything I expected from a place like this. They are overtly welcoming to snowmobilers, and I personally think it's a really smart marketing strategy.
Snowmobilers are people that love the cold, love the snow, love the winter season. So for us, it's for sure like it's a sure value. The people come here, they can experience like a 5-star service with everything that we offer with it. Some people will think that, oh, they won't welcome snowmobilers. Totally the opposite. So what we have to offer, it's direct access to the Charlevoix trails from the hotel with indoor parking heated. So you can just leave your sleds right in the hotel indoor parking.
We were getting geared up to ride. I was talking with John about what we could expect from the trails, and you know, John is such a huge fan of Quebec. He had nothing but positive things to say. The trails here are wide, you know, they're fast, they're well maintained, they're always well maintained. And despite having a little low snow season, you could tell just from the drive-in that the clubs around this area were doing an impeccable job maintaining the trails.
Morning, Luke.
Go for another one?
You bet. It's going to be a good day.
Exiting a 5-star hotel dressed completely in your snowmobile gear is kind of a surreal experience. You know, you're walking down these hallways with really fancy gift shops on either side and this fancy architecture, and you're just dressed to the nines in your snowmobile gear, passing people who are all fancied up in their suits and ties, and nobody looked at us like we were freaks.
We've stayed at a lot of places over the years in Quebec, and the Manoir Richelieu, really, I mean, it's an experience in itself. It is a majestic place. There's so much history to it, and it's just hard to imagine a motel of this magnitude that caters so passionately to snowmobilers. There's just so many hidden gems in Quebec, and pouvoirs in the bush and in the woods. This is in Lamel Bay, and it's just something so special. You're there for an experience, and you're going to get a world-class experience at the Manoir Richelieu in Quebec. And make no mistake about it, it's one of those places that you'll remember, and you'll talk about it, and you'll tell your friends about it.
It seemed like ride day one was kind of all about scenery. This region is very mountainous. There's lots of really big hills and steep descents on the trail.
You know, on our first day of riding, I was showing Luke some of the changes to even just coming out of the Manoir Richelieu within a mile and a half of the Manoir, how they've changed a lot of these trails and made them super wide and more safer for that matter.
Our first destination was going to be this really cool part of the trail that overlooks the town. And we came upon this town, and as we were approaching the town, you kind of come over the edge of this mountain and drop straight down. And the view is just spectacular. I mean, it's the view as far as the eye can see. And it was kind of a neat segue into our lunch stop for the afternoon.
SnowTrax is sponsored by MBRP Performance Exhaust. Lightweight performance.
The first half of the ride day was great getting to the town of La Malbaie, but we knew that the second half of this day, getting to this overlook John knew of, was going to be the real kind of crown jewel for our ride. The trails in the area certainly didn't disappoint, and in the afternoon we had a little bit longer route laid out to get back to where we were going to find this great overlook. The trails were wide. Again, they were so well maintained. That's the thing that gets me about being in Quebec is how even in a low snow year when the conditions are less than perfect, the clubs in the area manage to maintain perfect trails no matter what. And I mean, we hit a few bumps all during the day, but certainly not enough to make you say that the trails weren't near perfect.
Quebec has such a wide, diverse trail system. I mean, it's hard to beat it. And yet here we are, you know, 200 and some kilometers northeast of Quebec City, and you're thinking it's going to be wild and woolly, and it's not up here. You're in around Malbaie and Bay St. Paul. There's lots of little villages. There's lots of amenities, and that really is what makes that such a great draw. This area is that you're not, you know, you're not going 100 miles between stops. Quebec people love their snowmobiling, and they're very passionate about it. And because they're so passionate, they've made every village and gas station and restaurant and motel part of the system, and that makes it such a great draw for the touring snowmobiler.
We pulled up on the side of this cliff is basically what it was, and you could see all the way across the St. Lawrence. We could see icebreakers out in the water, and you were really right on the edge of the St. Lawrence with pretty much a straight drop down.
As our first day of riding was winding down, I said to Luke, Luke, I got to take this, and it's amazing. And really, I mean, you look one way, there's the St. Lawrence, you look the other way, there's the mountains behind you. And it was scripted perfect because as the day was winding down, the weather cleared up, the sky got blue, and the sun was out, and I thought, perfect, this is the time to go there. And we went up there, and the view is just, it's $1 million view.
This area of Quebec is really amazing for these types of views. When you're driving along the side of the St. Lawrence, when you're riding alongside of the St. Lawrence, through these mountainous landscapes, you're bound to get great views like this. And certainly this area is well known for it, and it didn't disappoint. After the lookout, you know, it was a short trip back down to Le Manoir Richelieu, and again, great trails, kind of scenic, running along the side of the St. Lawrence back down to sea level. And we pulled back into the hotel just as evening was arriving, and we were both pretty pumped about the day, but we were looking forward to the special event that was planned for us on ride day 2.
SnowTrax is sponsored by Snowmobile in Quebec. Experience a ride you'll never forget.
Ride day 2 was really what this trip was all about. There's a huge festival that goes on in this area based out of Le Manoir Richelieu. It's first of all, a poker run, one of the largest poker runs I've ever seen, based right out of the hotel. You sign up inside the manoir. All the events are centered inside the manoir, and you leave on the trails right out of the manoir, and you ride the area and stop at checkpoints, and that was what we were going to take part in. And the interesting thing about it is that of all the years I've been snowmobiling and all the things I've done, I've never actually participated in a snowmobile poker run.
A poker run is, that's exactly what it is. It's a game of poker. You know, you get 5 cards. I've seen it done in many different versions. This was, as I expected, you know, you got your cards at each checkpoint, and was a straight up poker game.
You know, poker runs are all about checkpoints, and you go to a checkpoint to get your playing card. The idea, I think, behind it is that they plan the checkpoints so that you have to ride the best trails of the region, and certainly that's what this poker run did.
When we did the day of the poker run there, it was a darn cold day and windy, which you expect that up in, I mean, when you have the St. Lawrence River there's always seems to be wind, but you know, the ride's a bit more of a relaxed ride. Yes, there's lots of people riding the trails. And you know, again, not quite as much snow as we're used to seeing there, but the trails were great, you know.
The first 2 or 3 checkpoints we stopped at took us down some spectacular trails until about lunchtime. We pulled into this to this one checkpoint, and it was just packed full of snowmobilers. There was hundreds of people at this place, all participating in this poker run, all having a good time. Every different sled you can imagine. We went into this little kind of restaurant type lodge thing and got warmed up, and there was just so many people around. We had to play horseshoes to get our card.
Al found out that Luke is not a great horseshoe player because I ringed mine on the second horseshoe. I didn't say much, I just smiled, you know.
I'm horrible at horseshoes, so.
And I watched him throw his horseshoes. He didn't get a wild card. I did.
I managed to finagle a card out of them anyway and talk them into giving me the card, but it was kind of fun to be out there playing games with people, and even though there was a bit of a difference in language, they still got what we were doing and we still got the point, and it was a lot of fun. So once I wrangled my card out of the officials at I guess the 3rd checkpoint, we were on our way. The trails there, again, are amazing. Even after having this many people on the trails, all these participants in this poker run have ridden the same trails we were riding. The trails were still really good. We pulled into the final checkpoint, which was obviously the one they wanted to save for last for a reason.
Checkpoint 4 was really a cool checkpoint. It was a big lookout overlooking the village of Claremont.
There was a great big lookout tower to the one side, and you know, people were congregated there taking pictures, and we took pictures.
Well, there is the St. Lawrence River. I can tell you that much.
Well, that's kind of interesting because that's where we came from, right?
Yeah.
We're right over there, I guess.
It was a cool checkpoint, as cool as it gets, you know, and everybody was standing around chit-chatting and checking the vistas out and looking, you know, taking advantage of what they were seeing right there. I mean, it was kind of a gathering place. Oh, they're an envelope.
Take a card.
Let's see how we do, Johnny. It was beautiful. And after getting the card at that checkpoint, it was kind of like, well, does the ride have to be over, or can we take the long way home? When we finally returned to the Manoir Richelieu, we had to turn in our poker hands, and I know nothing about poker, so I didn't know whether I had a good hand or not. Turns out I had a horrible hand, and John had a horrible hand too. I think if you combined our hands, we would have been pretty well set up, but unfortunately, separately, we had nothing. See how we do.
Pair of kings, which is more than enough.
We turned in the cards anyway and had it all checked out, and that was the end of the poker run, and I had a really good time. I can see why there's a big draw for this type of event. And I think that more regions, more places should be doing events like this to get snowmobilers together and to get everybody into one spot, talking to each other, meeting riders, and exploring new areas.
And it was an evening of festivities, and I was very pleased that Luke enjoyed himself. And he looked at me and says, "You weren't kidding me. You know what, this was a party."
The real party, let's say, of this trip was the evening entertainment after the poker run. And the Manoir Richelieu put on, hands down, the most impressive snowmobile buffet / night of entertainment that I've ever been a part of. John and I both agreed, one of the best live bands we've ever seen. I mean, they covered music from every era, every style. They played for 2 hours straight and did not stop once. I've been a lot of places, I've done a lot of things, I've been to a lot of events. And in terms of snowmobile events, this one is top of my list to go back to again in the very near future.
If you want to do something different, take in this festival and this polka rally, and don't go for 2 days, take a week and do it. Come in before, stay after, because I tell you what, the wind down time, wow, it's a phenomenal event, and I can't wait to go back again.
SnowTrax is sponsored by Princess Auto, a unique world of equipment, tools, and more. Closed captioning of SnowTrax is sponsored by Triton Trailer, built for adventure.
The newest generation of mountain sleds has become a reality, and what manufacturers have to offer you for 2016 is quite simply incredible, and possibly just a little bit unbelievable. Polaris continues to lead the pack in the weight category, and for 2016 has not only shaved off weight, but done it without sacrificing any strength or rigidity, and managed to increase the potential of the sled exponentially. While I do agree that weight isn't everything, the truth is, Polaris seems to have all the other aspects of a great mountain sled figured out as well, meaning that the weight is just an added benefit to an already exceptional mountain climber. This is the 163-inch RMK LE Special Edition for SnowCheck, and it features the all-new for 2016 3-inch lug that is not just potent on the mountains. This beast is the monster that's hunting all other competition. Does 3-inch mean you're now an instant rock star? No. In fact, for most, the 3-inch lug will get you places you don't need to be, or soon realize you shouldn't be. So by no means is this a first choice for the entry-level rider. But when put to the hands of those who know how to shred the POW and truly require more forward grip, especially in deep snow, a 3-inch lug linked to the legendary RMK platform will take you to heights you never thought possible. While the 163 3-inch lug sled I'm riding today does not weigh in at the mind-boggling 409 pounds that the 155 Pro RMK does, this sled is still very nimble, very light, and inspires confidence anytime you're throwing it around on the mountain. And when you're in the mountains at 8,500 feet altitude, staring down a nearly vertical chute, and the options are make it or break it, you'd better have a lot of confidence in your sled and its abilities. With the integration of the Axis front end, the maneuverability has been increased, as has the ability to make this sled stick to a side hill. Because the bodywork is so minimal and the suspension sticks out so dramatically, you can literally lay the sled on its side and not worry about the dreaded paneling out that other designs suffer from. If you think that I'm just a brochure for this new Polaris Axis Pro RMK, you need to ask the guy beside you to give you a firm slap upside the head, because even I was skeptical about the benefits of this snowmobile prior to doing this test ride. When you lay this sled on its side, it truly holds a line. You don't have to struggle to hold on to a clean line. You don't feel the rear track starting to drop downhill when your body panels rob flotation and take the weight off the rails. You just stick, quite literally. And as long as you're putting your eyes on the prize and keeping the throttle input proper for the conditions, you're going where you set out to, period. One of the most noticeable areas of improvements on the 2016 RMK is the HO motor under the hood. We knew how it felt out on the trails, but who knew just how good it would feel on the mountain? Well, for one, Polaris did. And man, they must have been biting their tongues last season with anticipation for when this rocket hit the vert. There is nothing in the industry that spools like this. Yes, the weight reduction of the entire sled helps, and so does the 2.5 pounds of weight that was pulled from the crank. But add to this the factory V-force reeds, 3-stage electronic exhaust valves, and electronic oil pump, and you not only have a sled that lifts like Victoria's Secret, you've got an engine package that's efficient at doing it, and will be there for the long haul. Durability has always been an important factor for Polaris in their RMKs, and for 2016 with the new overhaul they haven't forgotten about that, as chassis rigidity and strength are still way up. But what about the motor? Because they opted for an electronic oil pump, the motor is getting the proper amount of oil to keep the HO clean, but still properly lubed. And with the all-new grooved piston, the skirt is actually able to grab oil and pull it up the cylinder walls to encourage a steady wash of oil, resulting in increased reliability, increased power to weight, and reduced inertia. So, the question is, am I being too kind to Polaris about this new sled? And the truthful answer is absolutely not. And if you haven't ridden one of these 2016 Polaris RMKs, you need to keep your mouth shut and your Facebook opinion to yourself.
If you're comparing this sled to a previous version of the RMK, it's just not a fair fight. And keep in mind, even if you are coming to the table with ride experience on a 2015 RMK, it's nothing like the 2016. It's worlds of different and incredibly better. I've thrashed it, bashed it, jumped it, and stumped it. I've held it wide open longer than I should on poles steeper than a sled should climb. I've side-hilled across make it or break it chasms and dropped into unforgivingly treed chutes. And at the end of the day, my opinion is more than just words. It's experience.
And that's why I can say without any worry of criticism that the 2016 Polaris RMK is the sled that I'll be picking when the slopes get steep and the side hill lines look impossible, because Polaris seems to have done the impossible, and they call it the RMK.
SnowTrax has been sponsored by Polaris Terrain Domination, Arctic Cat, share our passion, and by Ontario Highlands. Come wander.
If you've enjoyed this video and would like to see more content from SnowTrax TV, click the like button and subscribe to the SnowTrax TV YouTube channel.